Let's change the course a little bit. Um, in our last episode, we spoke about Kevin Samuels, and we gave a review on what men think about Kevin Samuels, despite what some women may think or women may feel about Kevin Samuels. I would like to hear from you two brothers as a part two to that discussion. What do you think about Kevin Samuels?
Well, I got turned on to Kevin Samuels like 2 to 3 years ago.
Okay.
And what, it's funny now, it was actually, it's great to see now his trajectory now, because he's part of the lexicon now where, everybody's talking about him, extremely popular on Instagram.
Definitely.
But I remember Kevin Samuels when he was all about men and men improvement. And what drew me to him was he said things like, listen, you should be working 60 hours a week. You should be getting some type of coaching. You should be working on your craft. Take a year off from dating. Work on yourself prior to you getting back. I mean, it's something that your uncle would tell you. For him, he's an image consultant. So he spoke about your image. Suit Saturdays. Why you should wear a suit. You have a lot of young men who don't like wearing suits or button-down shirts, etc., or shoes. And he went into great detail as far as what kind of shoes you should possibly get and, what fits your profile. And I thought it was extremely interesting. And then now what happened is that he found a business model to where women were coming into the room. I was there when there was only like 75 to 100 people watching the chat. Now there's 20,000 people watching because more women started coming into the space because they wanted to hear, what are these guys talking about? And then that's when he didn't coin the phrase high value man. He said this, his words, but he started using the term high value man. And what does that mean? And what's happening is that you have a group of men that men are able to talk through the internet and have real honest conversations about their experience with women. Kevin was a part of what's called the Black Manosphere. And the Black Manosphere is a collection of men from all over black men from all over the world that have various different experiences as far as being a man, and particularly in the dating arena. So your experience with a woman may be totally different from what I've experienced, but why are you getting that? So then you want to know. And then you're like, well, if I fix myself up, if I do this, if I do that, then maybe I can get the same type of interaction. And that's where it all starts, and that's where it kind of all started with. So I see now that it's much more, he's rating women. And listen, let's be very clear. Women are not used to being judged that harshly. Not even say harshly, honestly.
Yeah. Harshly honest.
Listen, as a man, I know what I can get. As far as what I can get as far as a woman's concerned. And really, it's really to the end of what you are financially. And we accept that. But if you tell a woman that he told one woman that she's like Emmett Smith, she weighs as much as Emmett Smith, and that you want a guy who's 6'5", he's making $300,000-$400,000 a year, then no, because that man is going to have options to date who he wants to date, and that's just the situation. So I mean, it started a conversation. I don't think it's more about him. I think it's more of it started a conversation that needed to be had, because here you are, you have a black man that's speaking honestly, and he's speaking against the status quo, unlike a Steve Harvey that just says, hey, well, you know what, and this caterism that he does, and he's saying, no, we're not doing that. No, there's there's black men that are doing well, that are saying, hey, I want this, and I don't think a lot of women are used to hearing a man say, hey, I want this, and outside of sex.
I think human beings in general just don't like accountability. And I mentioned in the last video that he is an image consultant, so he gives the hard truth. Point blank, period. He gives the hard truth. A lot of times people don't want that. What do you think?
And that's the thing I respect about him the most. It's like he doesn't care about the stereotypes, what you think a female should hear. Like, he's the definition of what females claim they want. They want a man that's honest. They want a man that's open. They want a man that's going to keep it real with them at all times and keep them on their toes. So at the same time, I feel like he's rebirthing the sense of the black man when it comes to dealing with the women. Because a lot of black men, especially in the hood, we depend on the females. They the ones with the Section 8s. They the ones with the jobs. You know what I'm saying? That's why a lot of dudes be getting kicked out and end up homeless, because they sit back and let the female do it. But that's a lion's mentality. You know what I'm saying? Like in the jungle, the lioness hunts and the male eats. So dudes is thinking they're that lion in the jungle when they letting a girl hunt. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, it's breaking down their self-respect, their self-esteem.
Definitely.
And I felt like him putting these females, I wouldn't say in a hot seat, but just being as honest that the next man can't be, really put the sight in the man, letting them know, like, listen, you can still have the female you want, just be honest. And if that female can't respect that honesty, then that's not the female you need. You know what I'm saying? So I think he drew the line between wants and needs when it comes to females. If she can't respect how you feel and is not in agreement of what she want to hear or what she believes or how she feels, then she might not be that female for you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Like I mentioned in the previous video, like, being an imam, being a chaplain, and I deal hand in hand with marriage, divorce, counseling, and relationship issues. And I would tell any and every female possible, no matter what religion you are in, if you don't hold yourselves accountable, you're not going to have happiness. It's just impossible, right? So even if we said that Kevin Samuels was incorrect, even if you felt that, even if you felt he was incorrect, it's not your job to understand how men feel. It's your job to act accordingly or date otherwise. Because if we're looking for happiness, a man is telling you how he feels, and you're telling him, no, you're not supposed to feel that way. It doesn't work that way, even if it's incorrect. If you love that individual, you work according to what that individual has to offer, or you find someone better. And I personally didn't like when I hear, say gay allegations, or he's gay, he's into women, he's not into men, he's not into women, he's bashing women and things like this. I didn't like that because technically, like in my religion, in order to make an accusation like that, you would have to see someone doing a particular action that deem him to be this or that. Mm-hmm. If you didn't see that, you can't say that. And I think it's counterproductive to the actual message, because we sometimes when we don't want to hear what we're hearing, we look for something to attack and say, okay, now you got a reason to cut a person off. So what I did, I asked, some people in my community, well, what was the issues that you have with him? What are the issues that you have with him? And every single answer was emotional.
Well, yeah, definitely. I mean, that's because he triggered a lot of people, but it's funny because I hear things like, well, he goes hard on the women. I says, no, then go back 2 years ago to the old video. He keeps the old catalog up.
Definitely.
And he went just as hard on men. But you know what? But it was okay. It's okay for men to get beat up because men are not going to complain about it. What did they do? A lot of those guys says, you know what? Let me pick myself up and tighten it up and make myself better. And I mean, and that was the whole purpose of, the movement. He actually had a what was called like the men's conference where you had like 9 to 10 guys come down to Atlanta, and they had a class, and then they hung out and and went over some stuff. I mean, and it was all about improvement, self-improvement. Definitely. So like I say, I just think now that he found a business model, and he just kind of stumbled onto it. It wasn't like it was intentionally happened, because women started coming to the space because they want the type of guys that he's around. Yeah. You had, like you said, he had the blue Henrys, which were blue-collar workers such as myself. Then you had white Henrys that, worked in corporate America, et cetera. Mm-hmm. That was professionals, i.e. lawyers, attorneys, and doctors. A lot of these men are like, listen, we're looking for somebody, but yet you're dealing with all this other minutia, and this is it. And he's telling you, hey, now this is what guys are looking for. Yes. But no one wants to listen to that because they just want to give you what they want to give you. And now you have black men in particular who are making it, who are making good money, X, Y, and Z, who have passports that are doing other things, saying, I'm gonna take my ball and go across the street. Or now they're going what's called MGTOW, men going their own way. Mm. They're not even dating. They take themselves totally out the dating pool now. You have that as well. Then you have another group called Save Yourself Black Men, where they say, hey, you know what? If I can't deal with this particular community, I'm gonna deal with that particular community. So these are a lot of these subcultures that happen because of the system in hand, and because of marriage and divorce rapes and things of that nature. And that's all these type of roads lead, to a guy like Kevin Samuels who just took all that and packaged it up, and he's putting it out there now.
For sure, definitely. My advice to anyone who is uneasy with what he's saying, pay attention to the objective. Strongly pay attention to the objective. The objective is to have a happy home. Then maybe you need to listen to what he's saying. If the objective is to date and you never get married and never have a long-term relationship or anything like that, then yeah, you can continue to do what you're doing, because I think this is what a lot of women are falling back on. The fact that they can still sleep around. Well, you telling me I need to do this, this, and this, but I still go home with a man every time I go to the club, or I still do this, or I still get that. But those people won't marry you. And if they will marry you, will you be happy? So I mentioned in the previous video, I pay attention to, as a teacher, I strongly pay attention to the message and not really the method. Because when you focus on the method, a person can use different methods and be productive. But when it comes to what's actually being saying, that's what we judge. So
just real quick before you move on, and it's funny because
I think saying you don't have it. Yeah. Okay.
It's funny to me when it comes to female calling men emotional.
Mm-hmm.
I recently dated a girl that sat there and was like, "Yo, bro, every time you got a problem with something, you ain't got to say something. Like, you too emotional."
Told you that?
Told me that.
Got it. Wow.
So I'm sitting and I'm looking at her like, when I was that other type of person, this is the type of person females was asking me to be. Listen, you don't have to curse me out and go all crazy or go cheat on me. Just sit down and talk to me. Tell me how you feel. And I sit down and tell a female how I feel. She feel like I'm emotional. So when people sit there and say that a man is emotional for expressing how he feels, it's like, do you want him to express this verbally or you want him to express this physically? Like, how you want him to do it? Because if he expresses physically, then he's crazy. But if he expresses it verbally, he's emotional. Like, what type of man do you want to deal with? So I just find that funny because a lot of females say dudes is emotional. Even on social media, these dudes is emotional. But it's like, what do you want? You want a dude that's going to show emotion, or you going to want a dude that's going to act like he don't care? Like, you know what I'm saying? I just don't get it sometimes. It'd be a catch.
Well, people are creatures of habit. So sometimes, you ever heard of a situation where a woman says, he doesn't love me unless he hits me?
Yeah.
That's a real thing. It's a real thing, So I think what happens is everyone's measuring tool on love varies. It varies. But ultimately, you don't hold yourself accountable to how they want you to love them. You hold yourself accountable on how you're taught to love. That's all you can do.
They need counseling.
Yeah, definitely.
When Kevin says that, oh, well, do you have counseling? Oh, why do I need counseling? Well, obviously you got your own way. I mean, and it seems like as if it's a bad thing. There's nothing wrong with counseling. If you're saying things like, they hit me, love me, all this other stuff, I mean, that's just abuse. Yeah. And that's dysfunction at its best.
But that's what I'm saying. Some people became accustomed to dysfunction.
Extremely.
But see, they became accustomed to that, and it's accepted and it's second nature because this is what they grew up seeing.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Or a female done went through a situation where she was sexually abused. You know what I'm saying? So the way they got their innocence taken from them and the way they was treated, all the things they seen around them, they sitting there thinking that, okay, well, I see daddy beat mom. She say daddy loves her after he beats her. Don't worry about what me and daddy goes through. He hits me, but he still loves me. So they grow up like, okay, even if a man hits me, he loves me. If he don't hit me, then he don't care. Definitely. So it's always about how these people was taught. You can never get mad at the student. You always got to get mad at the teacher. You know what I'm saying? And that's just what it is.
In addition to the information I gave before, prior to keep in contact with us, any type of relationship advice, suggestions, questions can be forwarded to confrontational4@gmail.com.